Hello everyone, welcome back to the SQL for Beginners series. Over the last couple of videos, we have been writing some pretty cool queries using our movies table. We have learned how to use select to pull exactly what we want, and we have used word to filter our result. SQL has happily ended over the data every single time. But today, I want to pause and ask you something. Who created that movies table? Was it just always there? Or did SQL magically pull it out of thin air? Or did someone actually have to build it before we could use it? The truth is, someone had to create it. Think about every app you use: Instagram, Amazon, Netflix, your banking app. Every single one of them runs on database. And those database didn't just appear automatically. A real person sat down, designed them, created the tables, and decided exactly what information needed to be stored. So, today you're going to become that person. By the end of this video, you'll have built your very first database and your very first table. So, let's get started. Before we jump into SQL, let's make sure we actually understand what we are building. Imagine you just bought a brand new notebook. Right now, it is completely empty. No pages are written on and no information exists. Now, imagine you take a marker and write a title on the front cover. Students record. That notebook is your database. Now, you open up to the first page and draw a table with a ruler. You create columns for name, age, department, and student ID. That grid is where you will eventually write down the actual information. That is exactly how SQL works. A database is simply a container like the notebook, and inside that container, we keep one or more tables to actually hold our data. So, before we can create table, we have to create our database first. Let's build one. Open up your SQL environment and type this: create database college. Let's just read this like plain English. Create means we want to make something new. Database tells SQL what we are making, and college is simply the name we are choosing to give it. That is literally it. With one single line of code, you just created your first database. And here is the golden rule for SQL: never just assume your code worked, always verify it. Let's ask SQL to show us exactly what it has behind the scene by typing show databases. SQL will now hand you a list. If everything went according to plan, you will see college sitting right there in that list. Now, imagine you get further into your career and you have 10 different databases sitting on your server. You have a college database, a hospital database, a banking database, and a Netflix database. If you just tell SQL to create table, how does it know which database to put it in? It doesn't. You have to tell it which folder to open. That's where the use command comes in. Use college. Use the college database. From this moment on, everything we create will be safely stored inside our college container. A database without table is just an empty notebook. There is nowhere to actually write our information. So let's fix that by creating our first table. So the syntax is this: create table students parenthesis student ID int primary key comma name varchar 50 age int close the parenthesis. I know this is the biggest SQL statement we have written so far. But don't worry, we are going to break it down piece by piece. First, ignore everything inside the parenthesis and just look at the first line. Create table students. Just like before, we are simply telling SQL to create a table and name its students. Everything inside the bracket is just describing what the column of the table should look like. Imagine a teacher asked you to draw an attendance sheet on a whiteboard. What column would you make? Probably student ID, name, and age. Every time a new student joins the class, they will have information for each of those columns. But look closely at your code. Why did we write int next to ID and age? So SQL is smart, but it needs us to be specific about what type of information goes into each column. Student IDs and age are both whole numbers. So we use int, which stands for integer. So, but what about the name column? We wrote Vashar 50. Names are numbers, they are text. SQL uses Vashar, which stands for variable characters, to store text. That little number 50 inside the bracket, it's just telling SQL, hey, name the names in the column can be up to 50 characters long. There is one last piece of puzzle. Primary key. What does that actually mean? Think about it. Can two students in your college be named Rahul? Of course, many people share the same name. But can two students have the exact same student ID number? Absolutely not. Every students get a completely unique ID so that school can tell them apart. That is exactly what a primary key does in SQL. It guarantees that every single row in your table has its own unique, unrepeatable identity. Think of it as a digital fingerprint for your data. We'll explore primary keys a lot more in the future, but for now, just remember that almost every table needs one column that makes each record unique. So, where are we at? We have a database called college. Inside it, you have a table called students. And inside that table, we have three perfectly designed columns: student ID, name, and age. But there is one small problem. The table is completely empty. There is no Rahul, no Priya, no data at all. And honestly, that is exactly what we expect. We have built a beautiful classroom, but we haven't invited the students inside it. So, in the next lesson, we are finally going to bring this table to life by adding real data into it using one of the most fun SQL commands called insert into. But before we get there, here's your homework. So I want you to create your own database. Call it whatever you want: school, hospital, cricket, movie. Then create a table inside it based on topic you love. If you love football, make a players table. If you love gaming, build a game table. The goal isn't just to copy my code. The goal is to build something that belongs to you. And congratulations on making it this far. Just 3 videos ago, you didn't even know what SQL was. Today, you are designing your own database. That is a massive progress. So, if you enjoy this lesson and want to keep building this step by step, make sure to subscribe. Remember, the best way to learn SQL isn't by watching me, it is by writing the query yourself. So, keep practicing, keep experimenting, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy learning.